What did you learn at an embarrassingly late age? I thought everyone's mouth got itchy when eating bananas. Almost 40 years old and find out I'm somewhat allergic to them. Women's pads stick to their underwear and not themselves like a band-aid. Edit. Thank you all for the awards. Totally thought that this would get about 10 upvotes. I'm glad that I'm not the only one who did not know this. So many people do cocaine. Ponies are not baby horses. That Abula and Abulo were not my Cuban grandparents' actual names. For the longest time I always heard of sports teams drafting people. And I'm tall. So as a kid I was constantly afraid I'd get drafted for the state basketball team just out of the blue. I thought it worked like a military draft. I learned this wasn't the case when I was like 10 to 12. I learned how to ride a bike at the ripe age of 24. The song I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus was about mom and dad kissing because he was dressed as Santa. Found this out at 29 years of age. I genuinely thought mom was being a whore with Santa or a Santa look-alike. That you can flush used toilet paper. Parents taught us as kids to throw away the paper in the trash can for fear of backing up the toilet. Wasn't until college that I realized my parents were accustomed to that method because they had shitty plumbing where they grew up in Central America. That narwhals are real. I thought they were cute mythological creatures until I saw a brooch a friend had and asked if it was part of the company's mythological line. She asked me if I thought narwhals were myths, like unicorns. I laughed and said of course they are. I was 35. That our next door neighbors were lesbians and not just good friends. Lovely people. Didn't figure it out until I was in college. That I needed glasses. At age 21 my friends were hassling me about being dyslexic because I kept getting words mixed up. Second year at uni. Until then, I had just been reading by looking at the shape of words and guessing the words based on the context and wider story. I had been reading this way for years and survived uni before finding out my prescription was +150. The optometrist said it was amazing I hadn't noticed. When I put the glasses on, everything was in 4K Ultra. I can now see individual letters. That if you wear a white bra, you can see it through a real white shirt. But if you wear a nude colored bra, you can't. I was 40 when a coworker shared this with me. I have a few for this. White and dark meat come from the same chicken. The dark circular spots on sidewalks are gum. I thought collard greens were called color greens. Steely-Dan was not the name of a person. When you build muscles they don't stay that way forever. This one hurt to learn. I thought an armadillo was a reptile rather than a mammal. It's for all intents and purposes, not for all intensive purposes. I was almost 30 when I realized that traveling uphill does not always mean you're traveling north. And similarly rivers can run north because they aren't going uphill. I'm not normally that stupid. Paradigm is pronounced paradigm. It is definitely not pronounced paradigm. I learned this at age 19 in college while delivering an oral report. I try not to think about. I had always thought eggs were considered dairy on a food pyramid. I could have sworn that's just what I was taught, but nope, they're poultry. I guess because eggs and milk and cheese are in the same place in the grocery store, my mind just decided they should be considered dairy. That puffins are in fact not extinct. I had a 3rd grade teacher misinform me. I found the truth as a teenager in an embarrassing group setting where I was quite confidently wrong. That the more work you get done at work, the more they will pile it on. I could have saved a lot of my mental health in my 20s. Rotating tires doesn't mean spinning them around in place, like you're in a Fast and the Furious movie. It means you swap each of their positions on the car. For example, you might move the left front tire to the left back position, and vice versa, and the same for the right. That the Underground Railroad was not a choo-choo train that traveled beneath the ground to free slaves. That Florida spells Florida. Also a line was William. Realized this last year. I'll be 42 in a month lol. That quicksand is real. I honestly thought it was made up in movies to scare people, and was like an urban legend that kept getting passed around the internet. I was 25 when I watched a documentary on a survival experience where a lady was in the jungle and got trapped in some quicksand. I paused it and started ranting and raving about how dumb it was when my husband finally showed me his phone proving that quicksand is actually legitimate. The stupidest thing about this is that when I was 11 I watched half of a scooper truck get sucked in by quicksand and completely repressed that memory. Something I just figured out about 2 weeks ago, and I'm extremely embarrassed about this. When in the shower I hated how when washing/shampooing my hair the water would fall on my face. I just thought that was a normal, have to contend with problem. About 2 weeks ago it finally dawned on me. Tilt your head back. I wonder how I made it through life so far some days. That was very embarrassing to have to admit this. Washington State and Washington DC are two different places. That pickles are actually pickled cucumbers. That roadrunners are not the size of an emu. That those funny x-rays of odd objects inside of someone is not as a result of someone swallowing it whole. Baby carrots are just shaved down big carrots. I was devastated a few years ago. That the game show Wheel of Fortune is named after the tarot card. Santa isn't real. All the kids said it. But I knew for a fact that my mother couldn't afford even a fraction of the presents that we ended up with every Christmas. It must have been Santa. It was the local women's shelter and other charities. I thought the D as Disney was just some random symbol, kinda like a backwards G. It took me until like 7th grade to realize it, and even as an adult I still can't unsee the backwards G. That yogurt thing, where you're supposed to take the little fruit side and bend it over, so it pours into your yogurt. I figured it out for myself at 30, but found out it was already a thing. Before that I was jamming my spoon in there thinking what gives with the tiny fruit side? The word backquoter is actually pronounced a-rye. I used to read it as ori, and thought these were two separate words. For over 40 years. Guerrilla vs guerrilla warfare. In high school, I turned in a paper about well-trained guerrillas fighting in Vietnam. Those containers Chinese food come and unfold into plates. That cows are female and bulls are male. I thought they are two different species. I didn't get the jewelry store slogan "Every kiss begins with K" until I was well into adulthood. I grew up hearing it phonetically on cable TV, and I was like, yup. Checks out. The word kiss begins with K. That rolling your eyes isn't fully making a circle with your eyeballs. At 42 years old, I realized there is no donkey in Donkey Kong. I thought that Chuck Norris wasn't real for the longest time. I didn't know that chicken and collard greens is considered to be stereotypical black food till I got to college and everyone got mad about someone recommending it to President Obama. The term is self-deprecating, not self-defecating. Quinoa is quinoa and not quinoa. There's a small country between Spain and France called Andorra. WhatsApp is a play on the phrase "what's up?" The cost of steak. My parents kept us shielded from the cost of everything growing up. When we'd go out to dinner we would always ask how much the bill was. And my father would say, "Don't worry about it. I know he did this to keep the burden off us as kids." However, I would go out to dinner with my friends' families and order steak and lobster because I liked it. Meanwhile the rest of the family would get burgers or chicken. I had no idea I was consistently ordering the most expensive shit on the menu and was extremely embarrassed to learn this as a teen. At 18 I learned testicles move in the ballsack. Expected them to be squishy, but not just go ee. Granted that's not super late in life, but a warning would have been nice. I thought I broke my poor boyfriend's nuts and almost started crying XD. This is going to make me sound stupid, but I used to think shower puffs were air fresheners. We only got them in toiletry sets at Christmas and never used them. My mum would hang them off the top of the towel rail, so I thought it was supposed to make the room smell nice. I only found out what they were really for last year. I swear I'm not stupid. That menstrual fluid isn't blue. The tampon and pad commercials had me fooled. I didn't realize until 2 or 3 years ago that the name of the South Park movie was a dick joke. I'm 32 and saw it in theaters. That when my mum kept telling me to lift the seat up when I go for a piss, that she meant the ring part, not the lid part. Younger me thought that when the lid was down it looked more like a seat instead of a toilet, and never once considered that when I actually sat on the toilet I sat on the other bit. I used to say, of course I'll lift the seat up otherwise I'd wee all over it. Exactly, she would say. I just thought it was a not very funny joke that people said when they were going to the toilet. I mean, who would piss on the seat? Lit. I must have been in my early teens when I finally caught on. Penny is short for Penelope. That horse poop contains hay that comes from the inside of the horse. For the longest time, 24 years, I thought that someone would put hay over horse poop to cover it, similar to picking up after your dog. I never really thought about it much beyond that. One day, I was backpacking and wondering why someone would cover up horse poop in the middle of the wilderness. Then it clicked. Horses eat hay. Horses poop hay. I felt like an idiot that day and still do. I thought a negligee was pronounced neglige until I was like 30 and had been married 4 years. That it's not kitten caboodle, but kitten caboodle. My mental image of a basket full of cute little kittens was shattered. How babies are born. I was a kid. To distract me from the 6 talk whenever I ask, they tell me kids are crapped. So I imagine they come out anally. Whenever they talk about giving birth, I imagine it for a second coming from the butthole. Even when we studied in school about pregnancy, my mind just blocks the idea of giving birth once the pregnancy is complete. And when giving birth in other circumstances is mentioned, my mind wouldn't link that to the pregnancy process. That's it. My brain decided kids are born anally. One day I was watching How I Met Your Mother and the lady said, "Suing a baby through my vagina." That it hit me. If I was standing I would definitely have fell. I paused the show and needed my time to panic and process this brand new information. I was 22. Edit. And I'm a girl. That oxygen in use wasn't an ironic sign, like dark and breath. But it's actually so people who smoke don't start a fire. It's a warning sign. Up until 15 I believed if I swallow a seed and then drinks water a tree is going to grow inside me. I'm scrolling through the comments and finding I believed half the things here. Am I really this dumb? Z's and S's go in opposite directions. I thought women get pregnant at a random moment in their life until my friend told me you have to have intercourse in 7th grade. The piggy that went to market was not going grocery shopping. I was in my early 30s. I was 20 years old when I learned that salt lamps are indeed made of salt. I always thought that it was plastic carved into a rock-like shape. That it's Covent Garden, not convent. I was none the wiser. Corned beef wasn't made by cattle that were strictly fed corn. My mom couldn't stop laughing. That rice is not really small pieces of pasta. That penises don't actually have a bone in them. I was 30 when I realized that not everyone gets goosebumps after sneezing. Never questioned it cause everyone in my family has it. 2 weeks ago I learned that the axolotl is an actual animal. I thought it was a creature from Aztec mythology and definitely not real. I felt so dumb. That seahorses are not roughly the size of penguins. In fact, they are incredibly tiny. Stupid Saturday morning cartoons. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.